welcome back to the LiveU live stage. I'm really excited now to spend some minutes with someone who, for many of you, will need absolutely no introduction. Someone who's got a string of firsts to their name, and I think shares a real passion for freeing live production up. I'm talking, of course, about Todd Mason from BMG. Hi, Todd. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Todd, really appreciate you taking time here at NAB 24 to spend some time with us and maybe share with our audience and the folk here a little bit of what motivated you. So I'd like to start with, why did you form BMG and who are you?
Prior to BMG, I ran a production company and we had phenomenal facilities. I ran a production company, it was owned by a big corporation, and we did some really cool work. We produced a lot of shows, dozens of shows for ESPN, and the one frustration point that I had was that it didn't matter how nice your facilities were, if the talent didn't need to be in that city, New York or DC, then they're going to go somewhere else. And so when I started BMG, the idea was that we would not own any technology, and that we would go wherever the project was, and we would book trucks in that market. And so for years, that was the way we operated. So we went to where our specialty was live multi-camera production, and we would go wherever the shows were. A lot of them were in New York and LA, but we had that freedom to go anywhere.
So when you're talking about freedom, just so people get the context, we're talking big trucks.
Oh yes, right? Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm guessing those trucks had cables and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so how easy was it to say, we were going to go anywhere, we were going to get the stories, but really, what did that involve when you rolled a truck?
Well, there's a lot of logistics involved in planning a major production, and our main vendor at the time for many years was NEP. We were using multiple trucks on a given project, so all the logistics to go along with that. They were a great partner for many years, but things changed a lot when COVID happened. When COVID happened, well, prior to COVID, we'd been looking at REMI technology. We kind of, in my mind, ESPN was one of the leaders of REMI production, and so I was looking prior to COVID at what they were doing, but I wanted to do something a little different. Their model was to use smaller trucks on location, send all the signals back to Bristol, Connecticut, leverage the beautiful facilities they have there, and not travel their team. For me, we're in the top 5 markets in the U.S. We have contractors and and staff in different markets. So I needed to come up with a decentralized production team model. But that's what my thinking, and then COVID happened, and we were really forced to figure that out. And we went from not owning any equipment to we built the first private cloud facility that coincidentally happens to be here in Las Vegas. And so we kind of dropped that not own any equipment part.
So I seem to remember that you had a story where you were doing some cabling outside of some alleys and just to try and get a show to work. Can you just talk about some of the complexities that you had to overcome before you moved to the solutions that you have today?
Well, sometimes you have a show and you can pull right up next to the building that the show is in. And then other times, when we were covering the election that was Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, we were doing that for BuzzFeed, and they wanted to do the show in their offices, which were in the Upper East Side, New York, on I think it was like the 20th floor, and the 22nd and the 23rd floor. So pulling a truck up to that was a little more complicated than if we were to do that show again this year. It would be a lot simpler.
If you were to do that show today, I'm hoping you'll say, well, hey, of course, I'm going to use LiveU. But what's the difference? Just paint a picture for people so they understand how your life has changed and how your crew's lives have changed.
So, what has not changed is we go to wherever the project is. So we're not geographically limited. We have a hub here in Las Vegas that covers the West Coast, and we have a hub in Washington, D.C. that covers the East Coast. And we roll our mobile units out to wherever they are. All of our mobile units are REMI mobile units, and this is the inside of one. They're a lot smaller. They can do up to 16 cameras back to our cloud facility, and so we'll roll them out anywhere. So doing the same show, we would roll the truck out there, but the cabling would be, minimal at this point. So it is a lot simpler to do the show now today, and we can do a far more complex show.
So one of the conversations, as you mentioned there, that you created the first cloud live production ecosystem. What does that look like? What actually is that? So cloud, is it real?
Yeah, that's funny, because I think a lot of people think of the cloud and they think it's up in the air somewhere, but there's actually a brick and mortar somewhere. Our brick and mortar happens to be here in Las Vegas, and it is a data center, but it's a data center that was designed specifically for cloud production, television production. It has a number of what you would walk in and see like a traditional major network control rooms. We also have a number of software-based control rooms, and we have a huge transmissions capability of that facility. And so our mobile units, connect. We'll send on a project. We'll send a driver, of course, a tech manager, and an engineer. Then we'll hire a local camera crew. We'll hire local A2 and a video shader, and then everything else is remote. And it doesn't mean they're remote back at our cloud facility either. So in some of our productions, it's not unusual that we would have an engineer in charge at the cloud facility and a technical director, and then the director is in Charlotte, North Carolina, the producer is in Arizona, the graphics operator's in Chicago, the audio person's mixing the show at our facility in New York. Replay is at our facility in DC. That's a pretty common. That is a very common production for us now.
So that sounds pretty complex, but it also sounds as though you're able, in your decentralized workflow, to take talent and say to that talent, stay where you are. The job will come to you. Has that changed your economics?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So when we opened this cloud facility in March of 21, and when we started talking about our decentralized production teams, there were some mixed reactions from some people. Some people thought that it was going to cost people jobs, and people aren't going to be traveling and they're not going to get as much work, but it's actually really the opposite. So if you're a director and you're doing a event in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it's a one-day event, let's say, you're going to spend one day traveling, one day doing the event, one day flying back, and you're going to get paid. Industry standard would be half day for travel and then a full day rate. So you're going to be paid for 2 days. But in that same period of time, you could potentially do 3 or 4 shows and never leave your home and get paid the full day rate for the whole time. So it actually creates for freelancers an opportunity to make more money. For companies who own staff, like our company, we are a mix of full-time staff and freelancers. We get more leverage out of our staff, and from a quality of product, we have more options to book the very best people regardless of where they are. We don't have to worry about where they are. It's just, are they available on those days?
So that sounds really efficient, which is something that's close to our heart. And the productions that you guys are putting on, we're not talking kind of B-roll and quiet, enterprise class stuff. You're talking prime time. Can you just talk us through a typical workflow, if such a workflow exists?
Well, one thing we've found with sports, on our live production, we do a combination of news, sports, entertainment, and major events. So for sports, the producer and director really don't need to be on location, and they can be on remote. For entertainment, it's the director really needs to be on location. The front part of the truck has seating and multi-views, panels, and we can route anything you want, for that director or producer that's on site, but still take advantage of the majority of this team being remote. I mean, some of the major shows that we've done, we produced all 6 of the January 6 hearings, and the way we did that is we set up a video village in a conference room above the hearing room, and we sent all the signals back to our cloud facility via LiveU, and we leveraging one of our full control rooms at our cloud facility, and we had graphics operator was in Chicago, prompter and playback were in Vegas, but they could have been anywhere. And it was 10 hearings, pretty high stakes and flawless.
It sounds pretty prime time. So I'm guessing this was the multi-camera,
yep.
In sync.
Yep.
Did you have any problems syncing all those remote feeds back into the cloud?
No, we, early on in cloud or REMI production, or cloud production, I would say early on, like 3 years ago, there were some of those challenges. We overcame those challenges quite a while ago. One thing with all of our, I've been kind of impressed over the years with some of the things that Southwest Airlines has done to streamline cost and efficiencies, and one of the things is all their planes are the same. So when they have parts inventory, it's all the same. It's not a lot for each different plane. Their mechanics are all getting the same training. Pilots go in, all the planes are exactly the same. And so I've kind of mimicked that as we built out our cloud facility and our mobile units. So all of our mobile units, have LiveU 810s, and multiple units, of course, all coming back to our cloud facility, being decoded by LiveU 4000s. Our engineers can go truck to truck, and they're all wired, engineered, and equipped the exact same way.
So that ability to rely on the same workflow, to be able to lift and shift without having to relearn or retool has been really effective. Now that's really interesting. So this is 2024, and I'm sure every panel session has mentioned the fact that it's a year of elections. So as you look forward, I'm not going to ask you to predict the results of the US election, but as you look forward, what particular challenges are you thinking your crews are going to have to overcome as they start to cover some of these conventions and as they follow the show around?
Well, every project has challenges. So to me, we've done every 4 years we do a fair amount of political related work. Typically it would be convention coverage covering the Democrat and Republican convention, and then there's election night programming, and then there's inauguration. So we anticipate we'll be doing all of that this year, and they're the logistics of it. Each year it's different convention center, going through all the rules there, but being able to do it REMI style really helps us reduce our footprint, and that footprint, that footprint is very expensive, at these types of venues, and so that's a tremendous savings, and logistics, it's a lot easier for us to navigate, with our particular workflow.
So you're not rolling as much equipment to each of the venues, you're not having to move as many people, so less hours in planes. How important is it to you to drive that sustainability message? Because I get the cost saving, you're avoiding a lot of cost, but is sustainability something that's shaped the way that you've developed your workflows?
Yeah, that when I look at, our company has always been a technology company that leverages technology not just to lower costs, but really our forefront is to improve the quality and creativity of the final product that's going to air. So that's where we're grounded on. The added benefit, with REMI workflow is it does save cost. A tremendous benefit is sustainability. We will lower our carbon footprint on a live location productions by about 65%, and that's pretty amazing. And that is something we're very proud of.
It is. I mean, 65% is, I mean, that's a significant number. And the way I like to think about it is every ton of CO2 is a significant dollar value in terms of creating. So if you can avoid it, then you're saving costs intensely. One of the things that we sometimes hear is that this concept of bonded cellular and REMI is fine for backup to main. It's something that you can't rely on if you really have to go live. But it sounds as though you've built an incredibly successful business. Have you been taking risks, or do you know something that some other people don't?
I think we know stuff that not everybody knows, for sure. But I would think, I look at our workflow is no more risky than any other standard traditional legacy-based production workflow. And there's some people that'll propagate the opposite of that, but it's just not true. So, for example, if you're in a truck in an island at a production and your switcher goes down, 10 minutes before air, you're in trouble. For us, we just roll over to another control room. We have multiple control rooms, so we keep going, and that actually happened about a month ago. We had a switcher lock up 10 minutes before air, and we just routed it quickly to another control room. Nobody that was physically, well, all the people that were remote didn't even realize the issue happened, and the couple of people that were in the control room, the only person that moved was the TD. The other people, replay operator and producer, just stayed right where they were. And it was, this is not for your lower tier productions. This is for your top tier productions. And if you look at it, NBC has been doing the last 2 Olympics that are largely REMI productions. People lose sight of that. We did the January 6th hearing. There was 100% REMI productions. We did the season opener for the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs. It was a REMI production. So, it's ready for prime time.
I love that. Thank you. It's ready for prime time, and I think on that note we're going to wrap it up here. But it's been really great to hear about the fact that if you take a software-defined production workflow and you add in IP video, you're basically baking in the ability to be scalable, flexible, and ultra-reliable. Todd, thank you so much for coming over. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.